Hey guys, welcome to Worlds Collide. I'm Tony.
I'm Matt.
And we're going to be talking about BVS Ultimate Cut, and we're really excited to talk about this. We had to make a separate video because I already know it's going to go on for a little bit.
There are things to say.
Yeah, very, like, we both loved it, but he's got some things to say.
Oh, I loved this fucking version of the movie. Okay, so I'm going to backtrack. You guys can check, but I stand on record as saying, when we first walked out of BVS, I said, whoa, it was good. I don't know what I saw. I feel like I need to see it again. And yeah. I think at that time I gave it like an 8.5. I think maybe an 8.
I think you gave it an 8.
The first time, after our first viewing.
It was something in there.
Yeah. The second time I watched it, and this is after a day of thinking about it, what I saw. The second time I saw it, I walked out of it and liked it more.
Yeah.
Because I understood more of what was going on, even though the editing was really bad. And I was generous and gave it a 9. I was like, I enjoyed this film very much. Then the third time we saw it, I walked out of it and I said, dude, I just can't enjoy it as much knowing there is a 30-minute additional cut that we haven't seen.
You're like, oh, knowing that this footage is out there, that the way it was intended to be seen is out there, and we can't see that, makes me not enjoy the movie.
Yes. So I still left it at that same score. The ultimate cut dropped. I fucking loved it. This was the 9 that I originally gave the theatrical cut. First off, I'm never watching the theatrical cut ever again.
I agree.
Never again. This version was so much better. Not only was it extremely fleshed out, and things were put back into order and put around where the story made more sense.
WB took out things that were plot essential.
Oh man, I'm so sorry for Zack Snyder, dude. You got shit on.
It's
so hard.
It's funny because all these people, they're like, oh, I hate you, fucking Zack Snyder. All these people are like, I'm so sorry, Zack.
Oh,
I'm so sorry.
Dude, you got it so bad because this cut is so much better. First thing that stood out to me besides Africa was the fact that I cared about Clark, this movie. Now, people are going to be like, well, yeah, if you saw him in a steel, like, you sure to care about him. You're right, I did, and I've seen his journey up to that point. But it's like, when you go back to theatrical cut, they didn't do him justice at all.
They wanted more Batman.
They didn't do him justice at all. It's just like, so when the sacrifice at the end of the movie, I didn't feel anything.
I did. I cried.
I know. Yeah, just a fanboy. You don't feel it the way that it should. Now, when you go back and you watch the ultimate cut and those scenes get added back in and you start to see his side of things and why he's thinking the way he does, and all of a sudden that final sacrifice means something.
It just goes to show how those studios fuck up things. Like I know this happened with Fantastic Four. There was another script and the studio was like, nope, we don't want that.
Yeah.
So it's like Zack Snyder typically makes really good movies. Honestly, the only movie that's kind of like is Sucker Punch, but I still like Sucker Punch.
I need to re-see that one because people shit on that one, and
I
need to re-see it again.
It's not great, but it's not shit. Like, it's just a fun movie. Like, Zack makes these really good 3-hour cuts. Even the same thing happened with Watchmen. Like, Watchmen was really good, but I guess there was like an ultimate cut, and everyone's like, yeah, that same situation. Yeah. So it's like the studios like to step in and mess these movies up for us, and then we blame the director, but it's not really the director's call whether he could put out 3 hours.
At the same time, I totally get it from we'll say an economic standpoint.
A business standpoint.
You know, if we do a 3-hour cut, we only get so many viewings in the theaters. We're only going to be able to make this much money. We got to pay back the investors on this movie. It's one of the most expensive movies we've ever made. Totally get it.
But then it ruins the rep.
Right. Because now my biggest thing was, I was like, man, a lot of these 3-hour movies that have come out before it, whether it not even be superhero genre, but just in general, people go out to see these movies
Avatar.
When critically they come back with great scores.
Avatar,
people
Lord of the
are
Rings.
willing to. Now, granted, it's definitely still not a Marvel film in any way. They definitely still play on the realism. If this, no offense to Marvel, but if this happened in a real world scenario, this is what it would be like. So it does have that dark tone to it still, which I don't mind. But if this 3-hour cut came out critically and everyone, and say Rotten Tomatoes gave it an 85, they're like, wow, this is really good. People would have stayed for 3 hours. I know the average moviegoer only wants to stay for an hour and a half. But critically, if it's coming out there and people are like, wow. It sounds like this version was remember that report way back when the studio executives stood up and applauded? And this had to have been the version they saw. It has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be. There's absolutely no other way. I loved seeing the scope of Lex's plan. A nice pop on that scope there.
Yeah.
I love seeing the scope of his plan, and it felt more grand, and you saw how much time he put into this. People still want to shit on Lex and his character. That's one thing. I'm just talking about the plan in general.
Yeah.
Man, this dude really planned things out, and he's playing both sides. And even though ultimately in the end his motivations may not seem super clear, I understood why he was doing it. I totally get it. Still, some of the editing is a little choppy at times.
This is like a couple scenes.
It's not nearly, not anywhere near the theatrical cut. I think the funniest editing for me that was funny was the scene. Bruce wakes from the nightmare. He gives Alfred the coffee, and he's like, well, I got to break into Lex's house. He's like, you don't have to. You've been invited. And then it cuts to him in the Batcave, and he's staring like intently at a suit. And if you watch him, he's also wearing a suit already, like looked like he's ready to go. He's like staring at the suit, and he stops and looks at Robin's suit, and he walks upstairs, and it cuts to him in the shower.
I was laughing. I was like...
Nice ass, by the way, bro.
I was like, if something had to be cut, it could have been that.
I was just like...
I didn't need to see Batman booty.
It was funny, because it was just like, yeah, he was moody and like dark, and then he cuts to him in the shower, and then all of a sudden he's back in a suit again. I'm like, he was already dressed up. Like, I mean, I get it. I mean, he only has nice clothes. But I'm like, what the hell? That was really awkward.
It was funny. Me and Danielle were watching. I'm like, oh, Bat booty.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh.
The R rating. I really didn't get the R rating.
They had one F-bomb.
You're allowed one F-bomb.
Yeah, you're allowed one F-bomb. But the thing is in the Africa scene, when they were killing people, blood was squirting out. It's
like that's enough to push that R rating, huh? Because I know at the very end, the warehouse battle, when he chucks the box and the guy's head smashes,
blood comes out. But also in that scene when he's hitting the guy on the floor,
that's what I thought.
He hits him 3 times instead of 2 times,
and then see blood kind of.
And then at the very end, that guy that's stuck to the wall, that in the theatrical cut, he's just sitting on the wall and it cuts. Well, he goes up to that guy and it looks like he hits him in the nuts or something.
Oh yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about. Regardless, this version is so much better. We talked about this in our recap video. DC really just course corrected. I'm glad they didn't wait like 2 years to put out an ultimate cut. No, they were like, dude, we messed up. We got to fix this now.
And you got to think, maybe some of those editing issues. Remember, there was rumors of a 4-hour version.
I still think there is, because
what if he had to cut out some of those things?
I still think that there's more to this. Dude.
I do too.
Especially, the first scene that always still bugs me is the scene in the very beginning when it says the Metropolis, the day we're introduced to the Superman.
Yeah.
And Ben Affleck or Bruce Wayne lands, and he hops in the Jeep, and there's this random guy standing there. And I always feel like that they have a line or two, something right there. And they kept that cut in. They kept that scene or a quick shot of the guy staring up at the sky. And it's always really awkward because I'm like, where'd you come from? Like, why are you there?
If they had a 4-hour version, I would watch it.
I have a feel. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I know Zach wanted this cut.
But I think there was a Zach... For Watchmen, there was the normal one, there was the director's cut, and then there was the ultimate cut.
Yeah.
So maybe, maybe they're just trying to cash in.
The ultimate cut.
Yeah, the ultimate cut.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to go to another point, so go ahead.
Still don't understand Wonder Woman's motivations to why she decided to get off the plane then. I have a feeling
I don't understand Spider-Man's motivations, but he still,
He got recruited.
Okay, anyway.
Well, that makes sense.
Technically, she got recruited.
But how?
I'm just saying,
like, she got an email, like, she understood, like, she knows that Bruce Wayne knows who she is, but, like, what, and it could be explained later on. I'm not saying, right now it may not make sense. It's just, especially at the end of the film during the funeral, she says, well, I turned my back on humanity 100 years ago. Well, why now? Why did you decide to come back now?
Yeah.
And maybe in Justice League, they'll bring that up, and that's fine. It's just a little awkward, but, ultimately everything, there are a few times that there are seconds here and there that I'm like, yeah, you guys probably could have left those few seconds out. Yeah. It felt like they threw in every usable bit of footage that they had that was ready to go into this. Because like I said, there was a couple times I'm like, when Africa scene and Lois drops her arms and Superman hits her and she turns around and does this quick 2-second shot of her just kind of like standing there. And I'm just like, you didn't need that.
Or like the little kids like in the bus scene. Like I didn't think that was necessary.
Which one?
In the very beginning of the film, mankind is introduced to the Superman as a little kid.
Oh, after the building collapses. Yeah. Just little things like that.
I don't know if you noticed, but there are a couple lines in here that for Lex fans, you probably can be a little bit excited if they ever decide to go that route. But I don't think Lionel Luthor's dead.
I don't
or
think so
Lex
either.
Luthor is dead.
I don't think so either.
Because he makes a line when he's talking to Senator Finch, and he goes, "Maybe if I leave the same, Dad will probably come back."
Yeah, I have a feeling that
I had someone, Eli pointed it out to me. He said, "What if that's just his psycho thinking in his head?" I'm like, but they wouldn't say that though. That's
it's a very particular line for him to say. And we talked about this after the theatrical cut. Like, and I enjoyed his performance. I know not everybody does, obviously, and that's fine. His mind always seemed 3 steps ahead of his mouth.
Yeah.
So when he was trying to get things out, so he's always thinking. I mean, he's very smart. Obviously, look at the plan he put together. I don't think he's dead. I think they left that as an open door for something later on.
Like appease the fans.
Yeah. Clark as a reporter, thank you. Oh my gosh.
He's
dude.
like, don't let them take your lunch money.
Dude, more Perry White. I love Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White, dude. He's perfect. But Clark going to Gotham and him using the football story for him to go to Gotham and find the lady from Africa, which led to him finding out about the Bat. Oh my god, I'm like, yes. And now when he gets to the scene where Batman's killing everybody in the Batmobile, and then he shows he's like, the Bat is dead, I'm like, that scene makes so much more sense.
How he gets there.
Yeah. It makes so much more sense where it's just like, look, he's tired of his shit. Like, you know?
Talk about crazy shit. They also threw that lady from Africa, KGB, pushed her in front of the train.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, what?
I remember
Why would they cut that out? She's like a witness to the scene.
Talk about cutting out. How do you cut out the Arkham Asylum?
Oh, that too, yeah.
Oh, my God, dude. The fan service, like, how did you cut that out?
There's a rumor that Jared Leto was in London this week, and that's where Justice League is shooting. What if Batman goes to Arkham Asylum to talk to Lex Luthor, and there's like a cameo where Joker's in the cell. Like,
This world is set up. Especially with us being so close to Suicide Squad. Also, did you notice the scene at towards the beginning of the film when Clark's making breakfast? Now, if you remember in the theatrical cut, it's actually a scene talking about the Bat brand.
Yeah.
And in this one, it has to do more with Africa.
The lady.
So, I mean, it's just like, it's scenes like that they obviously with the theatrical cut, they had to throw that in there as Clark's introduction to, that's why he wanted to do the Batman, but the rest of it didn't make sense.
And in the theatrical cut, like, they make it seem like Finch is against her, but when Finch starts realizing the truth...
Oh, I know,
that line she delivers, today is a day for reckoning, today is a day for truth, shadowed interventions will not be tolerated.
Yes.
She was referring to Lex Luthor intervening and making it seem like Superman's guilty, so that was going somewhere. And then they killed the witness, and they killed the whole fucking courtroom.
And I like seeing Clark help still.
Yeah.
And then him, I mean, they really, that's what I'm saying. Like, even though they deconstructed his character, and they played more upon how his dad felt. I mean, even the phone call to his mom.
Yeah, that was like...
I'm like...
Because she's like, my baby boy. Like, you feel more sympathy for him because when she's like, my baby boy, like, the way she talks to him, it's like, there's love there.
So that's why it's like, even at the end, when he makes the sacrifice, and the sacrifice means more.
When he makes that sacrifice, I don't know if you noticed, and this is part of that R rating too, when Doomsday stabs him, when he pulls himself in...
I totally forgot to text you about that,
In the theatrical cut, it only shows him pulling himself. Right. In this version, it shows the whole bone going through his back. And, essentially...
I totally forgot to text you about it because I was like, I don't remember that at all.
No.
Like him slowly pulling it. Like
he slowly pulls himself in the theatrical cut, but it doesn't show it going in. And then the other thing is when Doomsday and him are laser beaming each other, there's a part where he gets thrown across the floor for a long time and then he comes up. That wasn't in the theatrical cut.
Well,
it was just a split second.
But he comes up because that's when there's
No, he does come up. Okay. He does come up, but when Doomsday shoots him, it doesn't show him like go through buildings and shit. Yeah. But yeah, like there's like little things.
I mean, ultimately, this was so much better than the theatrical cut. I am so happy that they released it. A 9, absolutely.
Like a solid 9, proudly 9. Because the last 9 was generous, so this one's like proud.
Yeah, back then, I mean, when I only knew the theatrical cut, I was like, I still enjoyed the film, and we talked about this, and I'm all into looking into meanings of movies. But when this half hour of footage lays it out so much more for you. Like that was a generous 9. Theatrical cut stands at like a 7 now for me, for sure.
And people over Facebook are like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. This is the way it should have been."
It should have been, and I really hope Warner Brothers learn their lesson. That look, if someone's got a 3-hour cut, as long as it's a good film, people are gonna see it. I mean, I believe that they lost money. They lost probably at least. I mean, was probably thrown out there. They probably lost another 100
Well,
million.
because they wouldn't have such negative reactions to it.
I'm serious.
So more people probably would have they wouldn't have heard so much negative things.
The last thing that I really enjoyed, and back to Superman's sacrifice, was the final shots at the beginning of the funeral with the empty city, the empty Daily Planet.
Not even just that, but
the music.
But Perry White, Pete Ross, the priest from Man of Steel,
up. Oh my god!
They all show up.
Funeral.
And then even on the military side of the funeral, the General Ross was there, and what's her name? It's Green Lantern's girlfriend. I can't remember her name.
I know we know who you're talking about.
But it shows the actual people that mean something to Superman. People that have all taken part in his journey. They show them, which was more impactful because these are people from Man of Steel, and they're in this movie. So it doesn't feel like just a fucking Batman movie. It feels like, okay, Man of Steel was relevant other than the fucking destruction of Metropolis. You know what I mean?
This cut really, really, at least, I can't say it definitely gets me even more excited for Justice League now. And I love the fact that this is my point. So the deconstruction of characters, people are like, they don't want to see sad Batman, they don't want to see sad Superman, and I'm like, I can understand that argument. I like it though. I like seeing Superman deconstructed, but now I think Warner Brothers and DC have set themselves up to give Superman the most heroic return to the screen and get people so really just that's Superman.
Here's my thing. People are like, oh, it's sad Superman, blah blah. This is the best iteration of Superman on screen that I've ever seen. I'm not putting down any other actor. I'm just saying, to me, I love that he was deconstructed because you feel more for him. He's humanized. You know what I mean? The other version is just oh, I'm gonna save the day. I'm just letting you guys know, in the comic books that I've read of Superman, he's never been he's been confident. He's said one-liners this is a job for Superman, shit like that. But he's never been this jokey, joyful person. He's always been serious. So that's what I don't get, where this thing for Superman comes from. I don't want to see sad Superman. It's okay, you're right. He's not sad in the comics. He's always confident.
Yeah.
But he's never a jokester or anything. It's not humor all over the place.
Yeah.
It's even the death of Superman, he's just oh, I can't handle this. He's fighting, blah, blah, blah. So it's I don't know where this comes from. I love this deconstruction. And even of Batman, it's still deconstruction of Batman, because this is Batman finding the hero himself again, the hero in himself, to come out and be the person that he used to be.
I did, and it's funny. I don't know if I remember this. I'm sure it was there in the theatrical cut, but the scene right before he suits up for the battle, when he's at his father's grave, and he says, I'm older than my father ever was, and he starts talking about the family history.
Yeah.
And he's and Alfred's oh, they traded pelts and stuff like that.
French.
Yeah, and he's they were hunters. And then I was oh!
Well, and then Alfred,
I know that was there, but I was it didn't hit me until this. I was yes!
And then Alfred was so falls the house of
oh, dude, just... Yeah. It was so good.
As it stands, I still give it a 10. I know we had this topic. Okay, the theatrical cut, I can put it down to an 8 now because...
thank you!
Just because that's what you wanted, so I can put the theatrical down to an 8.
But you can feel good about that.
Yeah, but like I said, I love the theatrical cut, but this one obviously fills in those blanks, so yeah, I
Don't put it down for me. I want you to believe in your score.
I do believe in my score. This one is a better version. I won't go back to that, like you said.
Yeah.
But as it stands, I give it a 10.
So
now, I'm going to do something real random, because one other person in this room, the assistant, has seen it. Danielle, you don't have to come into the camera, but what do you give the ultimate cut? Kind of yell it out.
A 10.
Oh, okay. She gives it a 10. Why? Did you like it better?
Yeah, because it added more stuff. It helped the story. I don't know.
Okay.
There was some kind of,
I don't know if you got that.
There was some pointless parts.
Yeah, some, but okay.
But
whatever.
It was good.
Alright. Alright, so that's one other person that, she's the assistant, but yeah.
Ultimately, Zach, your vision was right. You did it right. I am so happy with this movie, and I'm glad that this is all canon. It's not one of those things where it's well, this could have been, this is all canon. This is how it happens, and no one's ever going to watch the theatrical cut. It's it's funny, because even with the Blu-ray coming out in a couple weeks, the Blu-ray is the extended cut, the digital copy is extended cut, but the DVD is the theatrical cut. And I'm I'm just going to throw the DVD away.
Why would you even want that's so stupid.
I'm just going to throw that DVD away.
Unless you want to compare it. It's so stupid.
It's terrible, man. Don't even have that cut anymore.
Anyway, this has been a long topic. It's a really great time for us. Dude, we love the movie.
So excited for DC right now.
Yeah,
so excited.
So many things around the corner. Wonder Woman, Suicide Squad, Justice League, filming at the moment. So let us know what you think about all the news, whether it's Justice League, Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, or even the Ultimate Cut. Mainly Ultimate Cut. We want to hear news or feedback. A lot of people have been praising the Ultimate Cut. I've been reading. I read a lot of
I've
stuff.
seen nothing but praise.
I still
nothing.
seen a few trolls where like, you can't fix a shit movie.
They'll always be there. But
Yeah.
I've seen nothing but I've seen two things: praise for the extended cut and forgiveness, or apologies towards Zach. Because it's not his fault. I mean, like, it can't. There's no way he wanted this cut to come out, or the theatrical cut. So,
well, as it stands, let us know what you guys think.
Please.
Be sure to follow us on Worlds Collide 16 on Twitter. Worlds Collide Show on Facebook, Instagram, and even subscribe to our YouTube channel.
There you go.
Things that Tony says wrong. YouTube channel. But thank you guys for watching, and I'm Tony.
And I'm Matt.
And thank you guys for coming to Worlds Collide.
Later.